AM. Good evening, everyone. It is now 6:00 p.m. on April the 4th, 2023. I'd like to welcome you all to Richland County Council's regular session. This meeting would now come to order. Madam Clerk, take the roll, please.
Branham.
Here.
Hugh.
Here.
McBride.
Here.
Livingston.
Here.
Teratio.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Barron. Walker.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
English.
Present.
Newton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I also spoke with Ms. Barron prior to tonight's meeting, and she will not be present as she is traveling away on business, and we certainly wish her safe travels and a safe return. Next item on the agenda is item 2, the invocation, which will be given by the Honorable Cheryl English. Ms. English, you recognized.
Mr. Chair, let us look to the Lord. Father, it's in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that we come to you now, Lord, thanking you and acknowledging your power, your presence, your deity, all that you are, your grace and your mercy. Thank you, Lord. We just look at you and we stand in awe at your splendor and your mighty power. Father, as we conduct this meeting, we invite you into our midst. Father, to give us, please, your revelation, your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding, that we may conduct the business of the county with great and humble hearts. God, we just thank you. We ask you to bless every council person, every staff member, Lord, and bless the constituents in Richland County, God. We just thank you for each and every one. Father, we just give you glory, we give you honor, and we give you praise. These and all blessings we ask, and thanks we give in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And thank you, Ms. English. Next item on the agenda is item 3, Pledge of Allegiance. That will be given by the Honorable Paul Livingston.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Next item on the agenda is item 4, presentation of proclamations. And because we have multiple proclamations tonight, I think the best way to sort of handle the presentations would be for the presentations all to be read. And then once all 3 presentations are read, then we can congregate for the photo op in front of the county seal. First proclamation is 4A, a proclamation recognizing the 2023 South Carolina Division I 10 and under boys state champions. That will be given by the Honorable Shakese Newton. Councilwoman, you recognized.
Thank you. A proclamation recognizing the 2023 South Carolina Division I 10U boys state champions. Whereas East Columbia Youth Basketball League has served the Lower Richland community as the longest-running community-led sub-agency of the Richland County Recreation Commission for nearly 50 years. The tradition of teaching the life lessons of teamwork, sportsmanship, and perseverance through the game of basketball is passed from generation to generation, as many of the current dedicated coaches were once players in the basketball league. And whereas Kingston Cunningham, Amani Latson, Daitwan Shell, Kingston Huguenin, Devon Bird, Jackson Ware, Amari Staley, Brandon Dreer Jr., Dylan Smith, Braylon Gibson, Tristan Highsmith, and Leighton McLaughlin represented the East Columbia Youth Basketball League in the Division I 10U Boys State Championship. And whereas the team was led by coaches Joshua Tucker, Gerald Gibson, and Roderick Starks, and supported by All-Star Coordinator Tony Reese Tucker, Age Group Coordinator Darian Alston, President Lydia Overton, Vice President Adrian Jackson, and League Advisor Greg Sinkler. And whereas the team won their double elimination tournament on March 5th, 2023, and became the South Carolina Athletic Program's Division I 10U Boys State Champions in Malden, South Carolina, now therefore be it proclaimed that Richland County Council member Shakese Newton hereby recognizes the East Columbia Youth Basketball League and their 2023 state championship.
Thank you, Ms. Newton. Next item on the agenda is item 4B, proclamation recognizing the retirement of Ms. Gail Aycock. That would be given by the Honorable Allison Terracio. Councilwoman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a proclamation recognizing the retirement of Miss Gail Aycock. Whereas Miss Gail Aycock attended the University of South Carolina and received a Master of Education with an emphasis on rehabilitation counseling in 1977. And whereas Ms. Aycock started her career as a mental health counselor as a program service manager at the Earl E. Morris Jr. Alcohol and Drug Addiction Treatment Center. And whereas in 1991, under Ms. Aycock's leadership, the Department of Mental Health received the first behavioral health accreditation in South Carolina from the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. And whereas Ms. Aycock has served on multiple boards, including the Killingsworth Home for Women, Sexual Trauma Services of the Midlands, and the Women's Community Residence Advisory Committee. And whereas the Women's Community Residence Advisory Committee would lead to her becoming the Director of Quality Assurance for the Lexington, Richland Alcohol and Drug Abuse Council, better known as LRADAC, in 2005. She was promoted to President and CEO in 2014. Whereas under her presidency, LRADAC served tens of thousands of Richland and Lexington County residents with community-based prevention treatment programs. She has brought strategic groups together to meet community needs and resolve problems that create barriers to services for patients and the community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Richland County Council member Allison Terracio hereby recognizes Ms. Gail Aycock on her retirement. Ms. Aycock's 47 years of service to her community proved that recovery is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Terracio. Next item on the agenda is item 4C, a proclamation recognizing April 3rd through the 7th, 2023 as the Week of the Young Child. That will be given by the Honorable Jessica Mackey. Madam Vice Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The proclamation recognizing April 3rd through 7th, 2023 as Week of the Young Child. Whereas the first 5 years of a child's life are a period of rapid growth and change, and the cognitive, physical, social, and emotional and language development of children is built on a foundation of positive interactions with adults, peers, and their environment. Parents who receive parent coaching through home visitation programs like Parents as Teachers are better equipped to fulfill their roles as their children's first and best teachers. The 242 licensed or registered child care facilities in Richland County provide a vital service to the community by providing safe and nurturing care for children so parents can work to support their families. And many child care providers in Richland County are small business owners, largely women-owned, and staff who contribute to the economic prosperity of Richland County and the surrounding region. Child care quality enhancement initiatives that focus on professional development and creating safe, intellectual, stimulating environments for young children have a proven track record of increasing parent satisfaction and child success. The school readiness and long-term success of Richland County's 23,425 children under the age of 5 can be increased by high-quality home visitation programs and developmentally appropriate, accessible, and available early care and education settings. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, Jessica Mackey, Councilwoman of Richland County in the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim April 3rd through 7th, 2023 as Week of the Young Child throughout Richland County, and urge all members of our community to support efforts that increase children and families' access to high-quality early childhood education and parent coaching programs. And I'd like to recognize Richland County First Steps. They're in attendance tonight to receive this proclamation on behalf of Week of the Young Child in Richland County. Thank you.
Yes, at this time, photo ops. We'll start.
Well, let me do, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
If we could read the resolution as well, and that I can do that one, all of them.
Okay, next item on the agenda is item 5, presentation of the resolution. This is item 5A, a resolution recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And with this being a resolution, it would require a vote. So at this time, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Ratio, Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Recognize Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you to all my council members for voting to make this a resolution recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. South Carolina's future prosperity and quality of life depend on the healthy development of more than 1.1 million children residing in diverse communities across our state and 88,924 in Richland County. Preventing child abuse and neglect must be a priority that requires individuals, families, child-serving organizations, schools, faith-based groups, businesses, government agencies, and civic leaders to support the physical, emotional, social, and educational well-being of all children. Child abuse is a serious public health issue with wide-ranging social consequences. As data show, the link between the abuse and neglect of children and a wide range of costly medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral issues into adulthood. Parents and caregivers who have a support system of family and friends know where to find public resources and understand how to remain resilient in challenging times are best equipped to provide safe, nurturing environments for their children. Statewide and community prevention programs serve as proven and effective ways to reduce child abuse and neglect, no matter the geographic region, race, or ethnicity or economic status. In the fiscal year of 2021 to 2022, there were 9,031 substantiated Child Protective Services investigations with 15,978 children in South Carolina and 1,049 investigations with 1,671 children in Richland County. Now therefore be it resolved that Richland County Council members Jason Branham, Derek Pugh, Yvonne McBride, Paul Livingston, Allison Terratio, Don Weaver, Gretchen Barron, Overture Walker, Jessica Mackey, Cheryl English, and Shakise Newton hereby resolve the month of April 2023 is Child Abuse Prevention Month in Richland County, South Carolina.
And now we can move toward the seal for the photo op, beginning with Ms. Newton. That is the 10 and under boys state champions from East Columbia Youth Basketball League.
Thank you. My name is Lydia Overton. I am the president of the East Columbia Youth Basketball League. Just to acknowledge you, Mr. Chair, and county council members, we would like to also give special thank yous to our dedicated sponsors who help us from season to season, as well as government and agencies. And so we would like to recognize Councilmember Newton, State Representative Jermaine Johnson, RCRC Deputy Director, Mrs. Tamika Williams, and RCRC District Park Supervisor Ira Thomas. Thank you for this distinguished honor that you're presenting to our young men of East Columbia Youth Basketball League, recognizing our youth for their achievements and encouraging them to continue excellence in the classroom and in extracurricular activities is one of the smallest gestures us adults can give them as encouragement for their future. Thank you so much.
President Overton, before you and the parents and the athletes, and I should say fine student athletes rather, step away for the evening, let me just extend a personal congratulations to the East Columbia Youth Basketball League. You all may not know this, but before I put this suit and tie on, I actually donned the red and white for the East Columbia Youth Basketball League, and in fact started at the age of 10, believe it or not. And we were not good enough to win it all. So my sense is this team would probably, we'll get to you in a second, Councilman Brandon. But at least this team would probably run off the floor. Our team from the, I believe that was the 91-92 season. But the East Columbia Youth Basketball League has meant a lot to my family. I know that when my parents were looking for an outlet for my brother and I, one of the things they looked to was sports. And it was the East Columbia Youth Basketball League at Coffin Road Park. And in fact, I played it in the league for 3 years. And I was pretty good, by the way. But we learned those lessons of teamwork, persistence, the importance of practice, and probably most important of all, being competitive. Because life is a competition. Everything you do, you're competing. And so, again, hats off to the program there. Hats off to, the young men. Congratulate you on a fine season. And just understand it's not all about athletics. There are important lessons that you're going to learn, from these years that will carry you well beyond the basketball court. And again, I started out wearing the red and white, and this is where I'm sitting today. So just keep that in mind. I know you all have bright futures ahead of you. I love the message about academic excellence along with being excellent on the basketball court. So just, I salute the parents. I salute, far as the officials from the program, and I certainly salute the young men who practice and have shown a commitment to academic as well as athletic excellence. So, anything else you wanted to add to that, Councilman Branham?
If I could, what is harder to believe is that I also played basketball for East Columbia Youth League, and I represented the Yellow Rushes team. I had a few years ahead of the chairman here, and I don't know which were more white, the white shorts or my legs, but I was there. There.
Well, I'll tell you what. So we spent years trying to get those shorts, wear those shorts down to the knees. But now the kids are wearing them short now, almost about as short as they were in 91-92. So,
Mr. Walker.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chairman Walker.
You're recognized, Ms. Newton.
If I could take this away from fashion for one moment and just acknowledge also a Richland County team member who is also a team member with the East Columbia Youth Basketball League, and that's Adrian Jackson with our grants department. So I just wanted to give that acknowledgement. So thank you.
Wow. So the next photo op would be Ms. Gail Aycock. Mr. Racio. Have the floor, Ms. Aycock.
Thank you. Well, I certainly want to thank Councilwoman Teresa for all the support that she's given me personally and as our liaison on the LRADAC board. It has been my great privilege to work 47 years in the behavioral health field. And on the way over here, I was thinking it's 45. And I heard you say 47. And I said to myself, Lord, it is time for me to retire. And so, but thank you to all the council members for your support and for your recognition tonight. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank
Recognize
you.
Mr. Acio.
We are just so proud of LRADAC, and I also want to recognize staff from LRADAC, and we have a board member here. Our chair is here. Hi, you could have come down too. It really, really is a great team over there, and everyone. It's very clear that everyone cares so much about the mission, and that comes from the very top. We can see the care in everyone all over every time I go over there. So thank you for creating such a wonderful environment for everyone to heal in.
Next item is 4C. This is a proclamation for the Week of the Young Child. Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mackey, and this opportunity for us to emphasize the need for good quality care and caregivers for our youngest children so that they'll grow up to be these great basketball players like you two.
Next item on the
Thank you so much. I don't know, Marsha, if you necessarily said, but you're at Richland County First Steps. And so we appreciate Richland County First Steps as well as all of our first steps throughout South Carolina and what they do to help with creating parenting education programs, our youngest populations from 0 to age 5. So thank you for all you do in our county. We appreciate it.
All right, and next is the resolution recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Ms. Mackey.
Yes, this is everyone. So we want to head on over for a picture. Yeah, we can.
encouraged me. My name's Philip Van. I'm a current board member for Children's Trust of South Carolina, and just want to take this time to thank you all for the resolution. We came here assuming a proclamation, so it was a great news for us to receive the resolution of the full council, and really appreciate the support. And again, all the youth related proclamations and resolutions this evening really make us happy. So thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is item 6, approval of the minutes. Item 6A, the minutes from the regular session, March 21st, 2023. Any changes, additions, or deletions? All right.
Approved.
Second.
Let's move to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item on the agenda is item 6B. It's the minutes from the zoning public hearing, March 28th, 2023. Any changes, additions, or deletions?
To approve.
It's
Second.
been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Horatio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 7, adoption of the agenda. Any changes, additions, or deletions? All right, there being none, I entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair. Second.
Move to properly second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Horatio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 8, report of the attorney for executive session items, well, the county attorney rather. Mr. Wright, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there are no items for executive session.
Next item on the agenda is item 9, citizens input. These are for items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 10, citizens input must pertain to Richland County matters not on the agenda. Items for which a public hearing is required or a public hearing has been scheduled cannot be addressed at this time. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 11, report of the county administrator. Mr. Brown, you recognize, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of council. In your packet, I'm going to cover a few items. The first item for consideration is the Planning Commission's recommendations concerning the Land Development Code map and text amendments. Over the course of several months and multiple meetings, the Planning Commission did consider, after the council decided to kind of restart the process, input from various community stakeholders throughout the entire Richland County. And now they're ready to share the results of those meetings. The Planning Commission's recommendations are included as a part of your council packet. I believe they're represented on pages 24 and 25. And present, Mr. Chair, members of council, we have the Planning Commission Chair, Mr. Christopher Yonke, who's going to present information under my report related to the recommendations that have been adopted by the Planning Commission. So with that said, Mr. Chair, at this time, I would like to turn over the time to Mr. Christopher Yonke, who is the Chair of the Planning Commission, to present the Planning Commission's recommendations.
All right, tell him come.
Thank you. Slides up. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for allowing me to speak today regarding the Planning Commission's work on the Land Development Code over the past several years. I am Chris Yonke, the current chairman of the Planning Commission. I'm also a resident of Lower Richland for the last 15 years, a father of 5 kids in Richland 1 schools, and a geographic information officer or manager for the state. Pretty much I make maps. Next slide, please. Now, the first 2 slides were provided for you in your packet, I believe last month. First one addresses the law, Title 6, Chapter 29, which gives authorization of the Planning Commission
to create zoning ordinances and maps. The second slide. Next, please. Thanks. This lays out the steps from the adoption of the comprehensive plan to the Planning Commission making recommendations to council, to the council holding a public hearing and adopting the land development code. Next slide. The direction of the Planning Commission received from council was to prepare a zone map amendment and prepare land development code text amendments. These amendments are handed over to you by way of our ledger of recommendations. It was very wise of you, council, to task us with this, as this land development code update affects every parcel in our county. And the commissioner's goals through this process was to minimize disruptions for the public and maintain continuity in the zoning as we transition from a dated 2005 code to a current one. Next slide. Now I'd like to take a few minutes to share with you the timeline of this process so the council as well as the public can see how much time and thought has gone into our amended map and recommendations. So the process began way back in March of 2015 when the council adopted our comprehensive land use plan. So from 2016 to 2020, 4 years, the county staff worked with a consultant to draft the land development code. I joined the commission in September of 2019. The staff briefed us several times that this document was on its way to us for review. From November of 2020 to June of 2021, the Planning Commission thoroughly discussed and reviewed the land development draft, a 500-page document. Our PC, made up of volunteers with various backgrounds of law, real estate, development, military leadership, and me, a GIS mapmaker. We met in view of the public every time, even if this meant via Zoom calls and YouTube videos due to the pandemic. We held special public workshop meetings in addition to our monthly meetings. As of June 2021, the commission makes our recommendation to the council to approve the drafted code after our review and red line modifications that were at the time amended directly in the text by staff. In November of 2021, the council adopts the 2021 Land Development Code text and defers the zoning map consideration. Thankfully, last April 2022, this council was wise to direct the Planning Commission to restart the zoning map text amendment process. This is when our ledger of recommendations was first created. Between last April and November, the Planning Commission fully cooperated with this directive and task from council. We invited the public to speak at several meetings on this topic. We heard from hundreds of people from all over our county. Not only did we have them speak, but we listened to them and built our ledger based off the best compromise our commission could agree to. Take note that several of our ledger motions, which were voted on during that timeframe, passed nearly unanimously. For 6 months, the Planning Commission, during the restart process, wrestled with the text and the draft map. We wanted to make sure that our recommendations minimized disruptions to the public and maintained continuity in the zoning between the old 2005 code and the 2021 LDC. In November 2022, Planning Commission recommends several text amendments by way of our ledger and a zone map. This is based on the updated text. We've always been told and said that the text drives the map. Last December, January 23, the staff held their own Lower Richland focus group. February of 23, the staff runs a media campaign notifying the public of our commission's recommendations. Now, last month, you, the council, received your first report following our commission's process from Administrator Brown. And tonight, council, I'm here to show you that the Planning Commission took your wise direction, thoroughly reviewed and updated the Land Development Code, and completed our task. Next slide, please. Zoning map recommendations were based on an equivalency table in the new code that shows a linear crosswalk between the 2005 code and the 2021 code. For example, R1 is equal to the old RSE, residential single-family estate. And then all the way to R6 is the same as residential multifamily high density. Thus, R1 to R6 move up in density, but none of these zones upzone our county as it currently is laid out. I personally felt the conflict when this very first map shown to us showed that my neighborhood would be zoned R3, when in reality, it's a single family homes on 1/3 acre lots. Our recommendations listened to the public and made sure that the zones are equivalent as much as possible, with 2 exceptions. 1, the commission recommends that the council add M1 back to the 2021 LDC. A reason for this is that it would have taken too long to look at all the individual parcels, and that process would have extended our timeline. Exception 2 is that the translation table had more than one possible translation for rural zones. So the commission created a metric for determining which zone should be used based off of size. Agricultural, 35 acres or larger, homestead, 3 to 35 acres, and residential transition, 0 to 3 acres. Next slide. Thus, the Planning Commission's map recommendation is based off of this translation table. In your packet, I know the text is small, I apologize. Next slide. Text amendment recommendations. Just to highlight our ledger as I wrap up, 6 motions related to minimum densities and lot sizes in the AG, HM, and RT zones. 5 motions to add, delete uses from rural zones. 16 motions to amend how subdivisions are designed, including density bonuses, calculations, lot size ranges, and energy efficiency standards. We have a motion to add M1 zone back into the code and the map. We have a motion to remove manufactured homes from R2 zone. And we also have a motion to remove multifamily uses in the R2, 3, and 4 zones. Mr. Jensen, would you talk about the next slide?
Mr. Chair, might be recognized. Thank you, sir. So really quickly, first of all, I want to thank our Planning Commission. Our current council member, Jason Branham, was the chair of the Planning Commission last year, and he was the, I would say, the driving force to get this train down the tracks and into the station. And as was very adequately, very accurately stated by Chair Yonke, this process unfortunately ran into the pandemic and stalled. And without Mr. Branham's leadership, we probably still would be discussing this. And so I thank him. I thank Mr. Dennis, who's here also. He was the vice chair of the commission last year, Mr. Dennis. And between the two of them, Mr. Dennis was the parliamentarian. It made this process go forward. This is a very complicated process. This is something that you hire consultants and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing. And so I'm very proud that we were able to get this through internally last year without having to resort to bringing in another consultant to assist us. So I'm very grateful for that. Just want to really quickly, and also Mr. Yonke, who I've got to know, and who is a fellow planner, a GIS, he's a map guy, but he's a planner by trade also. And so it was so wonderful to have him as our new chair, somebody who not only does this because he's a citizen and loves it, but also who does this for a living. And so it's a personal passion of his. So really quickly, next steps. At this point, the commission, or the council needs to set forth the process for adoption, how it wants to go about this, and how in terms of how it wants to discuss it, and so forth. And so that's really where we're at right now. Obviously, this is an ordinance. It will require 3 readings and a public hearing for the text portion. The county attorney can lay out for the map process, because there was an existing ordinance open, what process needs to occur for the map to be adopted. But those are the things that the council is looking forward now. So we anticipate that what will happen in the upcoming future is that we will hold the 3 readings and the public hearing. We will hold whatever process is necessary for the zoning map portion of it. Again, the text process must have 3 readings and a public hearing, because it is new material. The county attorney can lay out the process for adopting the zoning map, which is a completion of the existing ordinance. But again, I am very proud of our planning commission. They have done yeoman's work, hours and hours, uncompensated time working on this. And I thank them very much. And what is laid out here on the screen for you is just a proposed schedule. The commission or the council can lay it out however they want, just as long as they meet all of the minimum steps necessary for completion and adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
I'd like to give Commissioner Dennis a few minutes, if that's okay.
Part of your presentation as well, Mr. Brown.
It may be, Mr. Chair, I did tell the Planning Commission to present to the council their recommendation, so that's part of it. If it's okay with you all, then.
Dennis, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all for really kicking this back to us. One of the things when we sent up the original one, we knew the text would drive the map changes and the map changes would drive the checks. And that was one of the things that we really took to heart. I'm a realtor by trade, retired Air Force, and there's no mistake, we do have a housing shortage. And one of the things is affordable housing. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me about one of our recommendations about the manufactured homes. Really and truly, the way we structure that is it just carries over exactly from the 2005 into the new code. We didn't take anything away. We didn't add anything. So it still leaves it there. The other thing was, I just wanted to say thank y'all for kicking it back to us. We really got some good things in there. One of the things that I was really proud of was the energy efficiency, especially with Scout Motors coming. We put in some EV chargers and things like that for density bonuses. We looked at a lot of things and how it can affect not just everybody up here, but also the citizens. And I really think it's a home run this time. Thank you.
I just wanted to second that. Thank you for your time today. This council did the right thing, directing us, Planning Commission, to restart the review process of the LDC. And as the chair, I can confidently say we completed this task. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the body for Mr. Brown regarding the presentation? Well, you recognize Mr. Brown.
Thank you so much for being here, Chairman Yonke, Mr. Dennis, Commissioner. Thank you, and Administrator. Presentation, as was said to one of my peers to me this week, I've got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it, and just very grateful that these recommendations are now formally before our council. To the public, I would say so many of you have been so very engaged with the Planning Commission throughout 2022. Now it's time to be engaged with County Council. You need to reach out and share with them your opinions and your perspectives on these things. The recommendations, review them and share with Council how you feel about them. I'll go ahead and encourage you to keep it short and sweet on behalf of my colleagues. The main question I think you can answer is, do you approve of the Planning Commission's recommendations? Yes or no? If no, which do you not? So anyways, thank you all again for your time, for your efforts. It has been yeoman's. I really believe that's been well worth it. Thank you.
Brown?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. And that this is a process that's really kind of uniquely before you. An item coming from the Planning Commission related to these particular recommendations. The next step is also to really decide how you move from here. So because this is, again, a little bit different than coming from a zoning public hearing, for example, this would be appropriate to determine whether or not you would send this item through a process, whether it's a committee council process or how else you would treat it, so that it can actually be addressed by this body in some shape, form, or fashion. So while it is a presentation, it is something that potentially requires some action. Otherwise, you won't have any way to move forward with it. So it doesn't require a specific decision today, but there's a process that's going to get started. That's what else needs to be sort of kind of addressed by the body.
It doesn't have to be addressed right now, does it?
No, it doesn't. It just gives you an opportunity to understand that nothing else, the zoning map or in our text cannot be considered until there's any future steps. So otherwise, no, sir, it does not.
Ms. Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to our planning commission. Thank you to our staff. Thank you to everyone who's participated in this process. In terms of determining how we move forward, there is actually a motion before us in our motions period, which gives us an opportunity to make that determination. So I just wanted to raise that.
Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So moving on to additional updates. In the packet, you see information about the Ag and Art Tour. A few brief comments related to that. The Ag and Art Tour will be held on June 10th and the 11th, which is Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Sunday afternoon from 1 to 5 p.m. Again, that's June 10th and 11th. The tours are free. They're self-guided farm tours that feature local artisans at each site. This year's tours will showcase agriculture, forestry, farm businesses, and art at 15 tour sites across Richland County. And then this year, 11 counties across the state will host ag and art tours on weekends in May and June. The goal of the tours is to raise awareness about where our food, wood, and fiber products come from while celebrating and supporting local artists, musicians, and businesses. The South Carolina Ag and Art Tour is led by Clemson University Cooperative Extension. The Richland Soil and Water Conservation District administers the tour with supports of Richland County and the County Conservation Commission and a number of other public and private sponsors. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that. I think many of you have received that information, but for the purpose of the public, wanted to share that with you as well. That's also in your packet. We also have listed in your packet, I believe it's on page 22, some of the dates that have already taken place concerning the Land Development Code community meetings. There will be more that will be scheduled. And there are some that are actually already scheduled as listed in the packet. So just want to remind anyone who is interested in participating or hearing about additional information about these Planning Commission recommendations concerning the Land Development Code. Additionally, Mr. Chair, members of council, page 23 of your packet, begin to give you just a brief update related to Alvin's Glen Detention Center. There is a fulsome presentation in the packet. I will not cover that. We did cover that as a part of the Detention Center Ad Hoc Committee, but I want to point out some highlights. We have seen staffing levels incrementally continue to increase. Again, I want to thank the council for the support of all of the funding we've put into the detention center, including for salaries that has reaped benefits. The kitchen renovation is substantially complete. We are waiting on the install of new equipment. Our last report, I think there was a question about how we were doing related to our retail rating report from DHEC. Richland County, its last report, received a 97 for the overall rating. That's a 97% out of 100. So we are very proud of that and look to continue that. Also, we are hiring for a director for the detention center. That position will report to the county administrator with overall focus of administration on Alvin's Glen Detention Center. We're also accepting applications for a compliance director position. So that position will help mitigate any concerns related to compliance with local, state, and federal laws, including minimum standards for detention centers in South Carolina. There was a question that came out of the Detention Center Ad Hoc Committee related to project scheduling and project details. In your packet, you have the full scope of work, but getting on about page 50 of the Willow Wedge locking system, including timeline for the project as well as project pricing, which I communicated during the meeting. That project pricing schedule can be found on page, I believe, 56, where it talks about the amount of funds. It talks about the lead time. It talks about the projected units that will be done and how it will fall out all the way from the approval of a purchase order to the time the installations are done throughout the units that are listed. Again, all that information is there. The full details, the full scope of work is made available to you. That is not a security risk for us. So you might be wondering, Mr. Brown, did you create a security risk? No, That is general information that can be shared. And we think it's important for folks to know that what we're doing to upgrade security at the detention facility for detainees and detention center staff. Also, Mr. Chair, well, before I move on from that item, because there were questions from the committee, are there questions related to that particular portion of the presentation this evening? Anything with the detention center that you had questions about?
Questions or comments from the body regarding the detention center? You recognized Councilman Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Brown, maybe I'm missing it in here. So what do we look at when this work is going to be done? Any rough idea of when this work will be done?
Yes, sir. If you look on page 56 of your packet, if you can see that.
I can, yep.
Okay, so at the top, it talks about pricing. If you go down, it says project schedule, and then it gives you a timeline, a project start date, and then it goes to each pod. You see that? It's on the screen as well, if you can look
The
there.
projected start date at the bottom of the page.
Yes, sir. So you see the first shipment of materials arrives. This is after the ordering is done, which we're already moving in this direction. You see the shipment comes in, and then you see they go pod by pod, and they give you the breakdown. If you go further into up before that, it shows you each particular area. Okay. So that's the full, complete information for anyone who is interested in that specific detail.
So roughly 13 months from now, we're done with this. May
Yes,
of 24. Sir. Okay. Very good. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Any additional questions or comments? All right.
Okay, a few more items, Mr. Chair, before I conclude. So additionally, one of the things that we talked about that I received questions about before, after the timeline for me to submit items, there are ordinances that you have passed. You've passed the fireworks ordinance. You've passed the absentee landlord ordinance. We do have communications plans for those. Those would be in your next packet. We're waiting on media buy information, but after this meeting is over with, I will send you that draft information. The goal is for you to take a look at that. If you have questions or things that are not included that you believe represent better access points, please give that feedback. But those draft plans that you will see for both the fireworks ordinance and the absentee landlord ordinance, there has also been a request to develop a plan for making sure people are aware of the updated redistricting lines. So that is something that we'll also be addressing. So when you get that email, understand that that's an opportunity for you to provide feedback if you would choose to, related to those draft communication plans. So you'll be seeing that as well. Additionally, Mr. Chair, again, just two more items and then I'll be done, sir, besides questions that you may have. The county did participate in the Midlands Heart Walk and the Move More Challenge. I wanted to give you just a quick update on that. While we were not fundraising, we did actually have agencies who did raise funds. The Richland County Sheriff's Department was able to raise almost $900 for heart research through the Heart Walk process. We had an individual who was able to raise more than $325, Ms. Sheila Lane. So she was kind of like the leading raiser. But overall, the Richland County Management Emergency Services had 1,200 hours of movement. So they kind of took home the movement prize on behalf of the county. But the real winners, besides our participation, was we did have a competition. And we told the employees, basically whatever team had the most movement, that we would reward them by providing them 7.5 hours of annual leave. So the good news for all those people who participated, you all won. So for all 149 employees who participated, we're going to be providing each one of them with basically a day's worth of leave time, appreciating their participation and supporting a community effort and representing Richland County well in the process. So they should see that additional leave time show on their April 14th paycheck. So I did want to share that with you because I know, as you mentioned earlier, competition is something that is an ongoing part of our daily lives. Last but not least, there have been questions over time just dealing with COVID-19 and about next steps. And so as we talked about, what we're going to do in the future, I know there was a question about what steps would the administrator take as it relates to COVID-19 and some of the processes that we put in place. So in short, just kind of want to get a general feel. You don't necessarily have to take a vote of how council member feels about the ability to see each other, about the removal of the barriers that are in front of you, whether or not you are comfortable and confident at this point in time that you're ready to more effectively see each other and hear each other with the removal of those barriers. And if that is the case, that's something that can be done before the next time the council has a regular meeting. So just wanted to get some general feedback, did not want to take any action without understanding the council's general view of me making changes to the council chambers, as these are mainly your chambers.
Questions or comments from the body regarding that specific item as it pertains to these plexiglass barriers? I'm going to begin with Councilman Weaver, then Councilwoman Newton, and then Councilwoman English.
Mr. Brown, I've heard from several council members, they would like these barriers removed. Brother Pugh over here and I, when we try to have discussions, we have to lead way back. I'm in favor of it. I think it's kind of like past its day. So I would vote in favor. That's all I gotta say.
I was originally waving to let you know Councilwoman English wanted to speak, but since you recognized me, what we're already talking about, I was just going to say that we could also perhaps send, thoughts or feelings to the chair or the administrator later on so we could keep trucking.
Ms. English?
Who's anyway? It's about to fall over. Okay.
Oh my God.
Mr. Brown, did any of that help you?
Well, so in general, again, because this was council chambers, I would like to hear from you. So if you want to take Ms. Newton's kind of request or thought process and send me something, that would be helpful. Because again, I don't want to make a decision that affects you when these are your chambers, and I'm simply trying to provide a protocol that you feel safe with. So, okay.
Brandon?
Yeah. Again, I got a motion related to this topic later on in the agenda. And I think one of the reasons that the administrator solicited comment right now is just to see if we could informally have a majority agree that they could be removed. And as such, we could just forego the formality of a vote on a motion. Obviously, it could potentially be sent to a committee as well, but I just wanted to offer that as encouragement for additional comment at this time. For anybody who's comfortable doing it, I am in favor of removing the petitions. Of course, that is not at all a comment on what the choice to put them up in the first place. I totally understand the rationale behind that, and thank you for it.
Brandon? Sounds like at least what I'm gleaning from this conversation is that we just probably should go the route that has been suggested by Councilwoman Newton, and that is for each of us to send our comments or thoughts directly to the administrator, and you could just CC me on that email. All right. Mr. Brown?
All right, Mr. Chair, I believe I'm just going to take a quick look here, but I believe I've covered everything that's in the report. So if there is no other questions related to any of those items, Mr. Chair, that does conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 12, report of the Clerk of Council. Madam Clerk, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman Walker. Just a reminder that for the month of April, Richland County has also partnered again with American Red Cross, and you have received information on your desk to join the county on a second blood drive that it will be held on Tuesday, April the 11th from 10 to 2 p.m. Everyone is encouraged to sign up online at the redcrossblood.org and make an appointment. And this is again for Tuesday, April 11th from 10 to 2 p.m. And it will be held here at the 2020 Hampton Street on the 4th floor conference room. Anyone that is willing to donate blood and support this organization will be welcome. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda is item 13, report of the chair. At this time, the chair does not have any updates or announcements. Item 14, approval of consent items. 14A, case number 22-40MA. Name of the applicant is Mark Meadows. This is a request to change the zoning designation from rural to general commercial for 1 acre of land, location 311 Killian Road, TMS number R14781-04-10. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
You recognize Ms. Newton.
I move to approve all consent items, items 14A through J.
Second.
Properly second. Ms. McBride, you had your hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to offer a friendly amendment so that I could get additional information on item J,
Okay. Okay, so like I said,
including item J.
so at this point, the motion is to approve items 14A through I. That'd be correct, Ms. Sal? Yes, sir. Okay.
I'll accept that.
All right. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Before we get to item J, Ms. McBride, I just have a question. Do we need to reconsider items G, H, and I?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
All right, I entertain a motion for reconsideration, items G, H, and I.
So
Move for
move, Mr. Chair.
reconsideration.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Move to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
No.
Hugh,
No.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Teratio,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey.
No.
English.
No.
Newton. Motion fails.
Next item on the agenda is item 14J. That's Animal Services, City of Columbia intergovernmental agreement renewal. This time I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Properly second. Ms. McBride, I believe you said you wanted more information. You got a question?
Yes, sir. Could staff provide an update of the agreement and the cost?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. McBride, I'll start the conversation and I'll have either if she's on the line or Director Haynes or ACA Jensen. Director Haynes is over the Animal Care Services. So this is our agreement with the city for the shelter services. Right now, this process is up for renewal. This is how the county currently provides shelter services. We don't have our own shelter. So through our partnership with the city, this intergovernmental agreement provides those shelter services. The cost that you see here, I believe is listed on page 123 of the packet, and it shows the yearly cost that's been paid to the city. And the current agreement says that the cost will go up by no more than 2% as it relates to CPI. And this is basically, Ms. McBride, an opportunity for us to, and really right now, the only opportunity for us to provide shelter services. We contract with the city for those services. So the, looks like the cost for fiscal year, you can see there, a little bit, probably I have to see what the current amount is, but the last listing here in 21-22 was $329,000 for those services.
So I was under the understanding, this may have been in the past, that we were paying almost $1 million. So for this service.
I don't believe that is correct, Mr. Jensen. Do you have any details on that? Ms. Haynes is on. Director Haynes, do you mind addressing Councilwoman McBride's request concerning how much we are paying to have this intergovernmental agreement with the City of Columbia for shelter services?
The shelter services is approximately about $329,000 per year. I think in the past, the cost per
I think you're talking, I see your mic moving, but we can't hear you.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. In the past, the cost was $24 per animal. They're only increasing it by $1. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Mr. Chair, Ms. McBride, if you could, is it possible that maybe we can call Ms. Haynes and maybe come back to this item before any action taken on that, with that, so we can get that answer for you?
Yes, and also while we're doing it, I think they may have applied for one of the, I think they call them community impact grants. And I think they were recommended for an award. So that would be on top of the, if that's the same program, it would be on top of the contractual agreement. Is that correct?
So I don't believe the city shelter applied for any funding from us. I will confirm that. But
It was for animal services, so I didn't know whether they had to go through the contract with the city of Columbia, whether that was separate. So
okay.
But that's another side question. Right now, I'm just.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll get the answer for you about how much it's costing us. And if you just allow me to work with the director, I'll make a phone call. So, Mr. Chair, if you give me just a moment, I'll step away and to get that answer for you.
Oh, you recognize Mr.
You could provide that information to me later because I don't want to hold up the meeting on it. And also regarding, I also want to know the grant contract that has been proposed. So I can get that information from you later.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Ms. McBride, do you need that information before you're ready to vote on this item?
Well, if it's, I think that we don't have a choice on whether to continue or not, but I would need that information in preparation for the future and looking at the cost.
But what I was thinking was if Mr. Brown could get you the requested information here shortly, we can move on to some other items on the agenda and we can come back to that one.
That would be good.
If that's your preference.
That's fine. I just didn't want to.
No, yes, no, not at all. So we'll go on to item 15.
Yeah, just
You recognize Mr. Livingston?
now, when I read the proposal, it gave me the last year amount of $329,000, and then it said it will increase by what, 2%. So the total cost should be 2% of last year's amount, based on the information I have.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Wright?
And I believe it's no more than 2%. So
Right.
it may not
so
be
we know it's
2%.
less than 2% of what we had from last year,
And
which is
the,
329.
sorry. And the actual agreement, how do you come up with that number? Is there's a per diem rate per animal of $25.02 per day? So that's how it depends on how many animals actually go there as to what the total number will be. But it's $25.02 per day per animal.
That number can fluctuate.
Right.
You recognize Mr. McBride?
I guess that was my question. We put a yearly cost, but I was wondering, and it may be some other figure, how much did we actually, is that the amount we actually paid? And is there additional funds going into that area?
I'll check on the additional funds, but to the best of my knowledge, all we do is pay the fee to the city for the contractual agreement of housing or sheltering those animals. And there's no other agreement in place concerning that.
Okay, I would just like to have that. Thank you.
Our recommendation, you recognize Mr. Racio.
Just thinking through, Brad, perhaps you were thinking about another partner. I don't know if I can name it or not, but Palmetto Lifeline was one that.
Well, that was for the grant part, but I thought they worked directly with the city.
Excuse
me, Mr. Chair.
That's no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's my understanding that there's a contractual relationship between that organization and the city.
And that the county pays so much to that organization. So that's what I was trying to find out, actually how much money we're putting in this particular program area. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I think those are separate. So at one point in time, the county provided funding so that the shelter that what you were talking about with Palmetto Lifeline, so they could build a shelter. And we partnered with Lexington County for that. So, but that we're not currently paying any money. The county is not paying any money for that. That was a one-time thing. And about a year or more or so ago, the county actually talked to Palmetto Lifeline's request and said, you're good to go. So those are, I hear where I understand, I think your question now, separate sheltering issues, separate animal care services. But we're not paying additional funds to another provider in addition to what we're paying to the city of Columbia for sheltering services.
Mr. Chair, that explains it because before there was an agreement where we were paying, it ended up we paid about $1 million with the two coming together. So that explains it. So I have, Mr. Brown, that's fine with me.
Okay.
So with that clarity, was 1 second, Mr. Livingston. So with that clarity, Ms. McBride, would you be ready to vote on this item now?
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Livingston.
Move for approval then.
Already had a motion.
And sorry, yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, just take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Terratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Entertain a motion for reconsideration.
Second.
Moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
No.
Pugh,
Oh.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Terratio,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Next item on the agenda is item 15, second reading item. 15A, authorizing the transfer of certain real property owned by Richland County and located in the North Point Industrial Park to Project Osmium and other matters related thereto. At this time, I entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Terratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 16, report of the Economic Development Committee that will be provided by the Honorable Paul Livingston. Councilman Livingston, you recognized.
Mr. Chair, item 16A, committing to negotiate a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement between Richland County and Project Armitage, identifying project and other matters related thereof, and the committee's recommendation was for approval.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion? You recognize Mr. Racio?
Thank you. Can we get a brief synopsis as much as possible on this item?
Oh, what we've done here is, these are some notes here. This resolution, recognizing, Project Armitage, so that the company can, move forward with its investments. Agreement with us, is what this is for.
Racio, you recognize?
Just a further question is, it has been our practice recently to give a little bit of information about how many what the investment is.
If I'm
not sure what the investment is.
Well, the investment, Ms. Is 6.3 million, 80 jobs, and also paying the assessment ratio of 6%.
And jobs, I think, if I remember correctly, like 40,000, or 6,000.
I'm sorry, did you say 46? Okay, thank you.
Additional questions or discussion before taking the vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Terratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English, Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Livingston?
Mr. Chair, the next item, let me get back to my page here. Item 16B, authorized execution, levy fee in lieu of taxes and incentive agreement by and between Armitage to provide for payment of fee in lieu of taxes and related matters thereof. That is the same item, but this is just simply the actual agreement here itself. And the first part was the resolution.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Terratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey, English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That completes the report of the Development Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Next item on the agenda is item 17, report of the Rules and Appointments Committee. I did speak with Councilwoman Gretchen Barron. As I stated at the outset of this meeting, she's not present this evening as she is traveling, on business. And so she has asked that, for the report of the Rules and Appointments Committee to be deferred until the April 18th meeting. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion for deferral.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. That's non-debatable. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Terratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 18, report of the Community Impact Grants Committee that will be provided by the Honorable Jessica Mackey. Madam Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight, I'm bringing forth a recommendation from the Community Impact Grants Committee related to grant funding amount for our fiscal year 24 budget. The committee met, and as a reminder to all council members, this is a new committee, and as we are establishing process for grants received through this committee, the committee discussed the proposed funding amount, and they recommend that council set aside $1 million in fiscal year 24 for the community impact grants.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any discussion or questions? All right, there being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
No.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Mr. Chair, that concludes this committee's report.
Madam Vice
Mr.
Chair.
Chair,
You recognize Mr. Brown?
may I address the committee chair?
Yes, you may.
So the conversation in the committee, when you talked about the meal, you talked about it for the last fiscal year so that you would actually have a known value. So I know you haven't necessarily done anything else with that particular motion, but you would need to, if the desire is to approve that, is to do it so that you will know the value rather than having to wait on a new current value. So that was part of the committee discussion. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Would you need me to make something else on record to specify that
Correct.
amount? Okay. Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. Okay, so the committee recommend the value of $1 million, and to be more specific, because we do not know the value of the meal, in order to adequately plan and budget appropriately with the right number, the committee recommended using the value of the meal the previous year in budgeting. And so that is the recommend. I do not have that exact dollar amount in front of me, but that is the dollar amount that will be set aside in the budget, is the value of the meal of $1 million from the previous year.
So I guess this is a question for the county attorney. So as to ensure that we don't have any hiccups or snags with the recommendation, what we just voted on, do we need to vote again? Do we need to reconsider? As far as the recommendation in light of what Mr. Brown has shared, or are we fine with the vote as it's already occurred?
I think if you want to make that change or clarification, probably the best thing to do is vote to rescind the previous motion or vote and then redo it with the new information.
I'm entertain a motion to rescind, the previous vote with respect to item 18A, which is the grant funding amount for fiscal year budget 20.
So moved.
Second.
Properly second. Discussion. And none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham, Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English, Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Now we're back to, square one. All right. So, Madam Vice Chair.
I need to restate what I just said. Okay.
Yes.
Making this a long report tonight. So the committee recommends council set aside $1 million in fiscal year 24 budget for the community impact grants. The value of that $1 million will be associated with the previous year value of $1 million. Hold on.
All right, second. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Newton?
Just a quick question. So is the idea, listening to your motion, that next year another motion would be made for the funding, or that this would continue on?
Yes. Next year, we would.
Make a new motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
No.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Madam Vice Chair. Next item on the agenda is item 19, report of the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee, which will be given by yours truly, the Honorable Richard Walker. Item 19A, mitigation bank credit, DR Horton Inc., Westport Phase 2 development. The committee recommends approval of the request to purchase mitigation credits. That purchase will be made by DR Horton in York County, South Carolina for Westport Phase 2 development. It's 1.61 wetland credits at a rate of $20,000 per credit, for a value of $37,523 that would go into the transportation penny program. Again, the committee recommends approval. Any questions or any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 19B, mitigation bank credit for Fire Tower Road. This is an approval of the request to purchase the mitigation credits, for Fire Tower. From Fire Tower Logistics LLC in York County for road construction, 17.47 wetland credits at $20,000 per credit for a value of $334,538, which would go back into the transportation penny program. The committee recommends approval. At this time, entertain any questions or discussion. You recognize Mr. Brenham.
Just to clarify, you're saying kind of a motion to purchase, but from the county's perspective, we're selling.
That's correct.
Credits.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, thank you.
And actually, you have to pardon me there. I actually got my words sort of twisted. But yes, the county is selling. So this is a request to approve, the sale of these wetland credits. So, all right, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton. Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 19C, mitigation bank credit, River Falls at TKK. The committee recommends approval of the sale of wetland mitigation credits to River Falls at TKK in York County. It's 2.162 wetland credits at a rate of $12,500 per credit for a value of $34,231.67. $26,304 of that amount would go back to the penny program, while the remaining $7,927 would go to the Mill Creek Mitigation Bank investors and owners. Again, committee recommends approval. Any questions or discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 4D. This is the use of project, not 4D, 19D. Use of project reserve for paved road resurfacing in the fiscal year 23-24 budget. The committee recommends approval of staff's request to transfer $5 million from the project reserve fund to the pavement resurfacing program for use in fiscal year 23-24. This will increase the line item, from the penny transportation penny from $40 million to $45 million. And for those of you who may be wondering what is the project reserve fund, that is the $52.5 million that the county saved when the state decided to take over the Broad River Road interchange. And so as a result, that was $52.5 million that came back into the program, the penny program, and it has been labeled or placed under the rubric Project Reserve. And so the committee recommends approval. Any questions or discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Yes.
You,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
McBride, Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
At this time, I move for reconsideration on items 19A, B, C, and D.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
No.
Pugh,
Oh.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Teratio,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Next item on the agenda is item 20, other items. 20A, fiscal year 23, District 4 hospitality tax allocations. Will someone stop me before I have to read all of this?
Mr. Chair,
You recognize Councilman Pugh.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 20A through C.
Second.
Been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
I'd like to also, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Recognize Mr. Pugh.
I'd like to move for reconsideration of those same items, please, sir.
Been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
No.
Pugh,
Oh.
McBride,
No.
Livingston,
No.
Teratio,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton. Motion fails.
Next item on the agenda is item 20D, a resolution to appoint and commission Kiara Williams as a code enforcement officer for the proper security, general welfare, and convenience of Richland County. I entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Move to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham, Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 21, executive session. Mr. Wright, I don't believe we have any items for executive session this evening, correct?
That's correct.
Next item on the agenda is item 22. This is the motion period. This is our item 22A. Mr. Branham, I believe we addressed this earlier in the evening as part of the county administrator's report. So at this time, do you wish to withdraw the motion or have it sent to committee?
I'll just ask it to be sent to committee just so it can stay alive while we finish the conversation, hopefully.
Okay, I'll send this actually to the coronavirus ad hoc committee. Next item on the agenda is item 22B. That's also a motion by Councilman Branham. Councilman Branham, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Chair. So wanted to get this motion again in front of council just as a means for the Planning Commission's recommendations to officially be in front of this body again. And again, thank you for the presentation earlier. I will clarify one thing, and this was my motion. So as it relates to the phrase by unanimous vote, the code text amendments and the zoning map recommended by the Planning Commission by unanimous vote. That is a reference to the unanimous vote taken by the Planning Commission to approve those items and have them sent to this body as a set of recommendations. So that's not a reference to this body taking a vote for a unanimous consent. And I have had the opportunity to speak with each one of my peers here on council one-on-one about what those Planning Commission recommendations were. And it's been great dialogue. I thank you all for your time and your interest. And so I would just ask that this be sent to committee for the time being for a further review and recommendation back to the full council with the hopes that any adopted recommendations can become effective on the same date as the underlying text, as well as the new zoning map that we expect to adopt.
And I'm now send this to the DNS committee. All right. Next item on the agenda is item 23, adjournment. Entertain a motion. Yeah, that was pretty flat, melancholy.
Move to adjourn.
All right, that's non-debatable. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Derecho,
Yes.
Beaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton. Motion approved.
We are adjourned.